This, I can't call this a formal interview because this is one of my best friends and family to me, brother. So Deep and I, in the afternoon, I messaged him saying, "Are you free?" Within what? Lightning speed, he responded saying, "Yes, let's do it." So this is not a formal interview for me in that sense. Deep Dasgupta, now one of the best in the business, very, very good. All of us have heard him in England. He was doing multiple broadcasts and obviously is one of the faces in the cricket circuit at the moment. Deep, welcome and thank you very much for joining me. Delighted to have you with me. Asia Cup, now that the team is going, plenty of questions. How did you kind of see the selection? Were you happy with it? So many calls, Shreyas, Iyer, Jaiswal, etc. Where do you stand on that?
Firstly, Boria, it's a pleasure. Always pleasure speaking with you. And yeah, it's no different. My emotions you've mentioned. Moving to the team itself. Listen, India at this point in time, when it comes to white ball cricket, especially T20 cricket, it's got so many players. I can name you at least 30, 35 of them, and every one of them would have reasons to be picked and reasons not to be picked. Most of them. Right? So it's a very difficult team to pick because when you have around 30, 35, or maybe even 40 players you could pick from, to choose 15, 16 is a tough job. So there will be questions, and that is a good sign. I look at it as a positive when people are asking questions. So that is one. Was I happy with the selection? I think yes. Not too many questions as far as I'm concerned, because when I look at T20 cricket, and especially when I look at the riches that India's got in this format, you're looking at roles, you're looking at defining roles, and then picking teams based on the roles rather than the other way around, rather than looking at names and trying to fit them into some role. This is how I look at T20 cricket, and especially picking the Indian side. Pick the role that you want for your top order batters or your middle order or your bowler, and then pick the names, because for every position you'll have at least 2 to 3 names available to you.
Shubman Gill, everyone's talking about him as possible all-format captain, now brought back as vice captain. For me, absolute gun player. I've got no problems with that. Your thoughts on Shubman Gill? You were there in England. I was there. We've seen what he's done in red ball. In white ball, what he's done in IPL or what he's done in the past. Where do you stand on Shubman Gill?
As far as captaincy is concerned, all I would say is I would want the selectors to kind of settle with the vice captain, because the issue that we had with the red ball was we had so many of these vice captains, and when Rohit retired, you didn't have 1 or 2 names to decide from. You had 4 or 5 vice captains in last 1 year. But what I would want to see, if you've picked Shubman Gill as a vice captain, stick with him, and then he becomes the year apparent, so he's the next guy in. So this is how I see it. Shubman, yes, I think he led the side well in red ball cricket in England. He obviously will learn, and he'll learn the more he does this. And I also think as a player as well, I see him do what Virat has done so successfully over the last decade plus in T20 cricket, which is, if you look at tournaments, Boria, and I'm talking about multi-nation tournaments, you generally don't have a 200 to 20 games, right? You have those 160, 170 games. That's where you need one in your top order in 1, 2, 3 who can hold the innings together, which Virat has done superbly over the years. So you need one guy like Virat who can play different situations and different conditions, not necessarily always 200. While you have the Surya Kumar Yadav, the Tilak Verma, the Yashasvi, Abhishek, you also need one guy who can keep it together from one end, which Virat did, like I said. And I think there are a couple of players. One is Shubman, the other is Shreyas. The 2 names which come straight to my mind. And they've gone with Shubman, which is fine, which is absolutely fine. And I think he'll do that job, and he'll do that job really well.
Do you think Shreyas will feel kind of let down to have been left out?
Listen, we're playing so much of T20 cricket. It's just a matter of time. You'll see a lot of rotation, a lot of, when I mentioned those 30, 35 players, I'm sure in the next 1 year, you'll see most of those guys playing for India. So, but yeah, the big challenge is now because of the World Cup, right? It's not too far, another, 6 months to go before the T20 World Cup. So this kind of becomes the dress rehearsal for that. You will try and stick with this squad as much as possible all the way through to the World Cup. So that from that perspective, you do feel for him. But then again, every time when somebody, I mean, post the selection, a lot of people asked, "Oh, how about X? How about Y? How about Shreyas and all of that?" I said, "Listen, fair enough. But then who do you drop then? Where does he bat then?" So the idea is it's because we've got so many names, so many really, really good players that these questions will arise. And then the question is not why, I mean, who does this guy replace then? Who do you take out of that squad? That's the question. And I did ask, and one of them said, what about Rinku Singh? I said, he's not going to, I mean, Shreyas is not going to bat at 6. He's not going to do the job that Rinku would do or Shivam Dubey would do, right? So you can't really, I mean, then you're comparing apples and oranges here then. So I think, when everyone should keep in mind in terms of when you mention a name, then you also got to mention in whose place then.
Am I right in saying India go in as overwhelming favorites and given current form, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, and that, yes, and all of us know that India, Pakistan, at least in the Asia Cup, is more geopolitics than anything else, given what has happened in the political domain, will be a very intense game in that sense because a lot of very sensitive nerves will be out there. But am I right in saying that at least going in, India start overwhelming favorites?
I'd say favorites. One team you've got to watch out for, especially in subcontinent conditions, is Afghanistan. We've already seen, I mean, Afghanistan beating Pakistan. So it is, to be fair, without a shadow of doubt, it's the number 2 team, at least in Asia. So that's one team that you got to be careful because earlier on, Afghanistan was predominantly about bowling and spinners. But then now you've got batters who can bat, who are very good batters. You've got seamers. So it's a well-rounded side now. So yes, I mean favorites, yes, definitely. Overwhelming, yeah, maybe not. Yeah.
And India, Pakistan game?
India, definitely. I think Pakistan needs to sort out its own team. I mean, before even we start talking about them, I think internally they need to sort it out. To a certain extent, from a cricket point of view, it's a shame. It's always been such a good side, but then last few years, with so much happening internally, they need to sort that out first before, starting to look outwards.
Your stand on Jasprit Bumrah and this whole question of workload. I mean, where do you stand? Are you, because I've spoken to multiple people and we've seen people on both sides of the spectrum. Where do you stand on Jasprit Bumrah?
See what this is how I see it. If for me, if Jasprit is available, he should be available for the whole series, and then the team then decides. I think one thing that maybe Indian team could have avoided for this England series was just mentioning that he's going to play. I mean, before the start of the series, that he's only going to play 3 Test matches. I mean, even if you've decided internally, you really don't have to mention it. Right? You don't have to go out and say that in public or in media. Uh, but the other thing is then if somebody's available, it's not just Jasprit, I'm saying in general. And listen, he's the best bowler in the world across formats, undoubtedly, right? You can't question that. I mean, I won't question that. But how I see it is if he's available, then he's available for the whole tournament. And then based on obviously workload management is important because he's such an important player. You need to look after him. There's absolutely no two ways about it. But then that then boils down to the team management, the coach, the physio, everyone involved to figure out how to manage his workload within the series/tournament. But to kind of go into a tournament saying, only X number of games or going into a series, X number of games, I mean, I don't know whether that really helps the team or not, because then you have your plans, then you kind of, you're thinking, should I not? If it's 3, which ones would he play? Which would be more? It just makes things a little more complicated. But couple of things, yes, he's the best bowler in the world across formats. Yes, we need to look after him so that we can have him for longer playing international cricket. But then also, I mean, I think you also have to think about the team as such, as a whole, and say, you know what, if somebody is available for the series/the tournament.
Coming back to the Asia Cup, would you open the now that you've taken Gill? Would you open with Gill and Abhishek Sharma? And where do you stand on Sanju Samson? Is it Sanju Samson for you in the lineup, or Jitesh?
Uh,
There's this huge debate going on. So who plays?
yeah, yeah. So for me, I would obviously now Shubman is vice captain, so Shubman definitely plays along with Abhishek. So you have a left-right combination at 3-4. I can't look beyond at this point in time. Look beyond Surya and Tilak. Again, left hand, right hand combination. I think this format, if you have that option, you've got to look at it. Keeping that going as long as possible through an innings. And then we are talking about what? Then we're talking about 5-6. Now, then I, according to me, if you're looking at 5-6, Jitesh is a better option than Sanju. If Sanju, you can't make a place for Sanju in the top three, then it becomes a little difficult. So if it comes down to 5-6-7, I think I'm going to pick Jitesh over Sanju.
Very strong words. I mean, clear position there. And that's the most important thing when you have a conversation, whether India management agrees or not. Deep is very clear about that particular position. Deep, another big debate, and so much of newsprint. Do you see that Virat and Rohit continue? Australia will be the last. They can't continue. They've got to give up, etc. I've written multiple columns saying it's all about performance. It's not an entitlement. Having said that, in the last tournament that they've played, which is Champions Trophy, both have the performance. Virat 100, Rohit that final knock. If they perform in Australia, it is their call. Yes, captaincy, they can be taken away. That is BCCI's call, etc. But as players, nobody can tell anybody to go and retire. Where do you stand on this?
100%, Puri. Nobody has got that right, like you said. I mean, we never told them to start. We are nobody to tell them when to stop. So they stop when they stop. It's completely up to them. As far as selection, I mean, like you said, we are in a performance-based, performance-oriented industry. You keep performing, you stay. I mean, there's absolutely no two ways about it. And looking at them and looking at Rohit, and I saw recently pictures of him. He's looking fit. He's looking, up and running and up for the challenge coming towards him. So I think that's absolutely fine as long as they're performing. I mean, it shouldn't be any different from anyone else. As simple as that. I mean, whether it's Rohit, whether it's Virat, and both of them, I personally believe they still got a few years left in them, going forward. So as long as they're performing, yes. And I seriously, Bori, I get a little annoyed when people say, "Oh, this guy should retire." I mean, who are we to suggest anything like that? They retire when they want to retire, where they think they should retire. I mean, yeah, selection boils down to the selectors and all of that. And as long as they're performing, absolutely yes.
So the only thing that kind of worries me is now that they are not playing T20 and Test match cricket, the amount of cricket is very less. So, and the game goes away from anybody, because there's not too much cricket. How do you see that as a problem? And how does someone like a Virat or a Rohit overcome that? Yes, I understand there will be IPL, which gives them 2 months. But other than that, to continue for the rest of the year, and I'm thinking 27, do you think they'll have the hunger, or how do they make up for this lack of cricket?
See, the big challenge for me is that hunger bit. If they have that hunger, and which it seems they do still have it, I think if they have it, they'll find a way. For example, I'll give you this. IPL you mentioned, 2 months there, right? We're playing, I don't know what, 7, 8 ODIs or maybe 8, 9 ODIs, right? They'll be there. Now, between that, you've got Vijay Hazare, right? Then you've got, if they want, they can go play in England, right? They can play 50 overs in England. So you have options to keep playing cricket, right? Might not be at the highest level, might not be international. You don't have too many ODIs. But then if you still want to continue playing, you have options. You have, like I said, Vijay Hazare, you go to England, you play there. Maybe I don't know if Vijay Hazare is done and if there is if there is a possibility, maybe go to South Africa or maybe go to Australia and play some 50 over games. That is still an option. I don't know. I mean, I know as far as England is concerned, that's definitely an option. I know about South Africa, Australia, and all of that. I don't know the rules involved. But yeah, I mean, you can still continue playing. But bottom line, what you mentioned first up was the hunger bit. Are you hungry enough? If you are, I'm sure they'll find a way.
Interestingly, you and I are conversing on a day when it's 1 month to the Oval victory. So, it's 4th of September when we are airing this broadcast. 4th August still seems so real, that 1 hour in the morning. I can't not ask you about Mohammad Siraj and reflect on Mohammad Siraj.
God, I mean, that guy's a legend, an absolute legend. Uh, okay, so this,
Just to stop you, I did an interview
yeah,
with him, same show,
yeah,
just about 7 days back for about 30
yeah,
odd minutes. So that interview was also funny. I told him we must talk. Firstly, he gave me his match jersey, which was very sweet of him. And then he calls and he says, "Bhai, आपने वो बोला था, आप तो कर लीजिए." So I said, "Okay, कितने बजे करते हैं?" So he said 12 o'clock. Then he calls in the morning at about 9:30 and says, "मेरा एक पॉलिटिकल इन एक इनसे मिलने जाना है, सीएम से मिलने जाना है." तो आई सेड, "तो क्या करना है?" He said, "नहीं, मैंने आपको प्रॉमिस किया हुआ है, आप अभी कर लीजिए." I said, "मतलब?" He said, "नहीं, देखिए, आपको जो प्रॉमिस किया है, इसके बाद आप बोलोगे सिराज ने टाइम बोला था फिर नहीं किया, अभी कर लीजिए." And then the guy speaks for about 30-35 minutes. And the best part of the thing was, I asked him, "So हम लोग इतना वर्कलोड के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, तो तुम क्या
yeah.
करते 5 टेस्ट मैच?" इसे नहीं दादा, एक और टेस्ट मैच होता वो खेल लेता, अगर उस मैच दिन में और 2 घंटा बॉल डालना हो तो वो डाल देता, इंडिया के लिए सब कर देता. And I'm just quietly listening. What is this guy saying? But that is the best part of this fellow.
Yeah, I mean, he is. So we always knew that he's all about heart, right? He's like a massive, massive heart. So the big question that I had before this series was, okay, we knew that Bumrah will only end up playing 3 test matches. The others are not experienced enough. Siraj was, the leader of the pack when Jasprit is not playing. So my concern was, does he have the head as well, along with the heart? We know he's got a big heart, and that came through in this series. The fact that he's also a thinking cricketer. He's not just about heart. He's also got that brains, the way he's bowled right through the series. Apart from the first test match, I thought he wasn't at his best first test match. But sorry. Yeah. But I thought post that first test match, he was absolutely brilliant, heart, head, everything together. And the thing was, the biggest challenge I thought on day 5, morning of that, was can India, the Indian side, including the crowd as well, recreate, and Siraj recreate that environment on the fourth evening. Because fourth evening, had the game carried on, I was like, oh, India's winning, right? But then my big concern was fifth morning, can we recreate that, overcast conditions and everything together, the whole crowd behind the team, the momentum and everything else. And there he was. First over that he bowled, got Jamie Smith out, what third ball, if I'm not wrong, of the over, got behind. And he's he and it's so when you're going, right? When you're bowling, you've bowled, even though you're tired, but you're up for it. But then when you go back to your room, you sleep, you wake up in the morning really stiff. But just to see him coming and running in as hard as he was on the fourth evening was absolutely brilliant. And like I said, always knew he had a huge heart, skill wise, yes, as well. But then the way he kind of used his brains and just tells me that he's such a matured bowler now.
Last question, Gautam Gambhir. Not the best start, but a lovely turnaround. England white ball
Yeah.
in the Test series. We've seen a solid turnaround. Now, obviously, this is the format Asia Cup white ball cricket. How do you see
Yeah.
Gautam Gambhir as India coach?
So how I see is, okay, this team is going through a transition period. Okay, I don't think the transition, and for me, again, the transition period would have 2 phases. First one is the earlier generation leaving. Then next one is you kind of creating a new side for the future. I think we're still in that middle phase where a lot of the guys are leaving and the new guys are coming in. So you've got to put this whole Gautam's stint so far in that context and saying, you know what, you've got to be a little more patient, not just with Gautam, with the team as well, with the players as well, because I think another 6, 8 months, I think this team, whether it's white ball, red ball, you'll have a better idea of where the team is, better idea of how the coaches performed. I think it's a little too early, keeping in mind that Indian team's going through a transition, to kind of to say anything about Gautam. Like you said, I think he's done a good job. I think in England did a good job. Yeah, obviously we're talking about a start from the New Zealand series at home, which was kind of a nightmarish start. But then again, that was kind of start of the transition period, isn't it? And I don't think it's complete as yet. It'll take another 6, 8 months. I think it'll be unfair to start judging based on what we've seen in the last 6, 8 months.
Clear-cut answers, candid, opinionated. That's what Deep Dasgupta's commentary now is all about. And that's also evolution. If you go back several years, and he and I have had many conversations on this, and I will now say that this evolution is striking to becoming one of the best in the business. Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure chatting with you, Deep, and speaking to you, and look forward to having you back in Kolkata at home when you come and commentate for that South Africa match, and catch up with you in Ahmedabad, if not in Dubai. But again, you've evolved as well, just like proper 18-year-old whiskey. So well done. Thank you, and many congratulations, and look forward to catching up more.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.